Hey guys, what's up? It's Clay. Today I'm going to be doing a video on ranking the Star Wars movies, including Solo, Rogue One, and the Clone Wars movie. And I'll include Rise of Skywalker now that it's been out in theaters and everything else. But I wanted to do this just kind of because the new season of Clone Wars is on Disney Plus, and I'm kind of getting back into that mood of Star Wars, with watching that and rewatching all the old Clone Wars movies. Not that I'm not ever like in the mood to watch Star Wars, but just with the new season of the Clone Wars, it made me want to go back and rewatch some of the old Clone Wars, so that I could remember where it left off and stuff like that. And so if you haven't checked out the Clone Wars, I do recommend you do that. But so basically I'm just gonna rank. There's 12 movies if you count Solo, Rogue One, and the Clone Wars movie. So 12 will be my least favorite and 1 will be my favorite. So let's get into this. So for number 12, I have Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. To me, it was kind of boring for the most part. I mean, I know it had an impact on the entire series because it introduced the clones, and then we got the Clone Wars, and then it leads into Revenge of the Sith. But I just felt that whole scenario with Padme and Anakin. I know they had to build up their characters and stuff, but to me it was too dragged out. It was just too long of a sequence, and they didn't really need it there. The only thing I did like about Attack of the Clones was the Geonosis battle, when we got to see all the Jedi versus the droids, and then the clones came in. But other than that, Episode 2 was definitely my least favorite of the 12 movies I have here. Number 11 is the Clone Wars movie. Now, I know I just got done saying how awesome the Clone Wars is, but the movie itself really, I feel, was unnecessary because we see that stuff again throughout the Clone Wars series. They go back to the planet that they're on at the beginning when they have the battle, and it shows a completely different scenario there. Jabba's son is kidnapped again, I think, in the Clone Wars. So, really, they didn't need the movie, even though it did introduce Anakin's Padawan in Ahsoka Tano. But other than that, it wasn't horrible, but it definitely had flaws, and I just feel it was unnecessary to make. Number 10, we have Solo. Because yes, it was a good backstory to Han Solo's life, but the ending didn't make any sense. And if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Darth Maul didn't need to be part of this movie. I didn't understand why he was there, but I guess it was so it could lead into Rebels. But the movie was all over the place, and I didn't hate it, but again, it had flaws, and so I didn't hate it as much as everyone else did, which is why it's a 10 and not 12, but I definitely feel like it could have been better for being like a backstory. Number 9, I have Episode 8, The Last Jedi, and like I said before with Attack of the Clones, there was parts that it was you don't really need this in there. But it was overall, the first time I saw it, I was kind of disappointed with it. And being a big Star Wars fan, you never want to be disappointed with a Star Wars movie. When I rewatched it on DVD, it wasn't as bad as I remembered it being, but it still wasn't great. And there was just things about it that really didn't need to be in the movie, and there was just aspects of it where it was why is this here, and I didn't hate it completely. Like I said, when I rewatched it, it seemed better than it was the first time. Not perfect, but definitely better than I remembered it. And so that's why I put it at number 9. Number 8, we have episode 1, The Phantom Menace. This one didn't have a lot of like action sequences in it. And again, just like the Anakin Padme scenario in Attack of the Clones, the pod race was really dragged out. I mean, I found it interesting, but I just feel it was too long as a setup for the pod race. At least the pod race itself wasn't that long, but the setup for it, and the whole story arc between Anakin and Sebulba, and just it was kind of slow leading up to the pod race, but I still liked it better than Attack of the Clones. But yeah, I feel like if there was a little bit more action scenes in it and less of like the pod race build up stuff on Tatooine, we would have been good. But again, it's Anakin's backstory, so you kind of have to go in depth with it. But I could have did without some of it. Number 7, we have Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Of the prequel trilogy, I definitely think Revenge of the Sith is the best. I just love all the action scenes we get in it. We get fights between Obi-Wan and Grievous. We have Dooku, Obi-Wan, and Anakin. We get Obi-Wan and Anakin at the end, which is a really good fight scene in my opinion. And it's a good way to build up, Anakin becoming Darth Vader and stuff. So overall, I didn't mind the movie. I just liked some better than Revenge of the Sith. But like I said, out of the 3 of them, that's definitely the best out of the prequel trilogies, and that's why it's at number 7. Number 6, I know, Rogue One. I personally enjoyed it more than I did any of the other movies I've seen, like I've mentioned so far. I didn't hate it like everyone else did. I really didn't. I thought it was a good movie, well directed. And I kind of liked, because the first Star Wars movie I watched was The Phantom Menace, and then I got into the prequels like a lot of people before I got into the original trilogy. And so when I started watching it, and I'd watch them in order, I'd get to Revenge of the Sith, and then all of a sudden it's years later, and Leia's being chased by Darth Vader to get the Death Star plans. I mean, the first time I watched it, I was kind of confused because I didn't know, what was happening, why it was happening. And Rogue One kind of filled in that space. The story between Episode 3 and Episode 4, because it told us how they got the Death Star plans, why they wanted the Death Star plans. It showed a lot of the different things going on in the galaxy at that time, and so I kind of liked it. And it definitely fit, within the canon storyline, I believe, because they never really mention how they get the Death Star plans other than Bothans risk their lives to get it to them. But other than that, that's all we really hear about how they get the Death Star plans. And so to see this backstory and to take a movie and base it off of that, and then even have the continuity of the movie to where you have Galen Erso building in the little reactor that Luke ends up blowing up in A New Hope, really shows you how much the directors and all the people involved kind of paid attention to the Star Wars lore that we already had without kind of changing what happened. And so that's why I liked it, and that's why I put it at number 6. And again, wasn't perfect, but definitely a good time as a movie. Number 5, I have Episode 7, The Force Awakens, because it was, again, not perfect, but it was, a start of the start of a new trilogy of Star Wars movies. We get new characters, and it pretty much took the focus away from the older nostalgia that we knew from the original 6 movies. And with not growing up as much, with the originals as some people did, I was okay with having a new set of characters because I already got that with, the prequels. But I think overall J.J. Abrams did a good job at directing Episode 7. Again, not perfect, and not my favorite of the new ones, obviously, because there's 4 left to go through, but definitely better than The Last Jedi. I enjoyed it. I know there was people that didn't like it, but it's Star Wars. You're always gonna have mixed reviews of the movies, and not every movie can be perfect. Not every movie can be liked by everybody. There's always gonna be critics, but I like The Force Awakens. Number 4 is the newest of the Star Wars movies. It's The Rise of Skywalker. I put it at number 4 because I thought it was a good time. I mean, I saw it twice. I liked the nostalgia that we had in this movie, and I'm glad it didn't focus on the nostalgia of the movie. I mean, for the most part, I know the whole plot of the movie was Palpatine came back, but I mean, like, the nostalgia with Leia or Lando or Wedge Antilles, we didn't really get that until closer to the end of the movie when those characters became more relevant in the movie. And so I'm glad it kind of took the focus away from the old original cast and put it on the new cast and their journey. They had a journey for the most part all together, and so to see our new characters doing kind of what the original group did, with 3PO, Luke, Han, Leia, Chewie, all the original cast members, and so the fact that we got the new people is what makes the movie good, I think. Next is A New Hope. Again, I didn't grow up with the originals, so I don't know what it was like when this first came out, but for me, I think the movie was a lot slower, but then again, it was made in the 70s, so there wasn't a lot of action and stuff, but it did pick up at the end, and I do think it's still a good movie. For me, it was a little slow on the build up to the battle at the end when they destroy the Death Star, but still a really good movie. Number 2 is Return of the Jedi. Really well directed and just a great movie. I love all the action scenes. I love that they end up winning the battle again at the end. I just something about the prequels was just really good. And again, so it went episode 4, episode 6, and then if you were keeping track, number 1, my favorite of all 12 movies, is episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. I'm sure most, or at least a lot of people agree that it's definitely the best. It was really well directed, a lot of good scenes, a lot of great CGI. The plot was right on point. I love the movie. It's always been my favorite since I first watched it. Even though I grew up with the prequels, Empire Strikes Back was still my favorite movie. I don't really know why. It's just, for me, it was really well put together, and I really, really liked the movie. And so, yeah, that's it. That's my ranking of the 12 Star Wars movies, including Solo, Rogue One, and the Clone Wars movie. So let me know in the comments what you guys think of my choices, if you would put something in another order. And just like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.